Hey, let's look at this 1970s banjo. It's actually made in Japan during the golden era of making instruments. They were copying instruments from the United States, and they're just unbelievable. But we'll go into that later. If you like these videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So let's hear what this banjo sounds like. All right, so let's just talk about this whole concept. So, uh, we've been looking at various banjos that are under, let's say, $3,000 or $4,000, because that's been our market now for the last 3.5 years. Is the more expensive instruments, and there's a big need for people to have an instrument of good quality that's not an arm and a leg. Okay, and so what we did is we found these really, really good instruments made in Japan in the 70s that are copies of instruments made in the United States. Now, the thing that's kind of interesting is a couple things. Number one, some of these banjos have really lousy friction peg keys on them, okay? And then some have sat for 30 or 40 years. The plus, if you take an instrument that's sat for 30 or 40 years, there's something magical that happens because of the age. They settle in and they sound much better than a new instrument. Um, Now, the downside, which isn't a big deal if you know what you're doing, is they get out of adjustment and they just don't play. Sometimes they don't tune. And in many cases, the metal looks really bad. So they don't look good. They don't sound good. Okay, so all of a sudden, this is like restoring an old vintage 55 Chevrolet. You find it, you restore it, and all of a sudden that car that is worth 20,000 in its state is now worth 150,000. Well, this isn't quite what's going on with these banjos. But so what we do, we spend about anywhere 5-6 hours adjusting these banjos, cleaning them, fixing anything that's incorrect, and restoring them to that really, really good banjo. And then we can sell these for considerably less than what you can buy an equivalent new banjo for, okay? And one last point is when you have wood, when you first get a new instrument, no matter what it is, if it's going to have a problem because the wood hasn't quite dried and it's going to move a little bit, in other words, it's going to warp just a little bit, that's going to happen within usually the first year of ownership. So if you got a 40-year-old instrument, that thing is set. It is solid. Wood's not going to move, and if anything was going to be wrong with it, it would have shown up. Okay, enough said. Okay, so basically we have it's a two-piece armrest. You can see the instrument, and of course you can see it's just a beautiful instrument. Okay, now being 40 years old, there might be a little mark here or a little something in the finish. You know, see there's a little, there's, I don't know what I'd call that. That's just something underneath the lacquer, not a big deal. And you'll notice that there are certain things they did 40 years ago, like that's a really nice inlay right there, okay? Actually, it's put on there and finished over. The woods they used 40 years ago were much better than the woods they use today. This actually has really nice rosewood on the fingerboard, so let's just take a close-up and go up the fingerboard. Now, we've noticed, okay, it has very little fret wear. We get a lot of banjos that have barely been played. I'm talking about 20, 30, 40-year-old banjos, and I don't know what happens. People buy them and I guess never play them that much. Anyway, so this one's falls into that category. Now, we did put new keys on this banjo, so all of a sudden this banjo, which prior to when we got it didn't really tune very well, now it tunes perfectly. Okay, so now, once again, we already looked at the resonator, but we'll look at the side of it and notice that the wood is just extraordinary. Now, you probably can't even buy, I think, wood like this anymore, okay? Now, looking at the instrument, now this is a copy of what Gibson used to do. They used to have a 1/2 inch shell, okay, with a full weight tone ring. See, that's a full weight flathead tone ring, okay? So, compared to what you can buy for this amount of money, this is extraordinary, and this sounds really good. Now, if I was to compare this with a $5,000 banjo, obviously the innards are nicer than this, but for a banjo that you can play that will function really well, let's say that you're just starting and you want something a little nicer than what you normally get, or you've been playing for a little while, maybe you've been playing for 2 or 3 months and you decide, man, I really like this, I want something a little better. You're getting a banjo that if they made this banjo today, I bet it would be 2 to 3 times as much as we're asking for it. Well, that's it. That's the whole bit of information, and I believe it even comes with the original case. So if you have any further questions, you can call 404-372-5482. Talk to Andy. Go to banjowarehouse.com. You'll see lots of pictures, and if you want to visit us, just call us first. Give us a day's notice, because sometimes we're out buying banjos. We're usually around all the time, but always call us. We only live 1.5 miles away, so if you want to stop by, we can see you on Saturday, Sunday. We can see you in the evenings, and I guess that's about it. I guess the only other thing I'll say is we've got about 70 banjos, so if you want to see everything in one place and not have to go on the internet, buy something, oh, I don't like it, you send it back. It's just a major hassle. You can see everything in one place, and after you've been here 3 or 4 hours, you'll know more about banjos than just about anybody. So we look forward to seeing you, and we'll talk to you later.